Imagine that you and your family move into a new home, but you start to feel like you're not alone here. Your family is having issues and now you can feel a presence. The house is haunted. The question is, who is the ghost? What does it want? And is it here to help or to hurt you? This is Presence, and it's a new horror movie filmed entirely from the viewpoint of the ghost. The audience feels like they're the ghost as we watch this family go about their lives. In this video, I'll explain everything because all of the reviews and videos I've checked out so far are getting this one very, very wrong. I'll answer your questions, including who is the ghost, what does the ending mean, and what happens after the movie ends. Because not everything is as it seems, especially when it comes to the timeline. Let's get into it, but before we do, if you're new here, I'm Mad Morph, and this is my movie club where I talk about film and TV, so please do like and subscribe for more like this. You can find me and my other channels and content in the description of the video, including my free audiobooks to help you sleep, everywhere you get podcasts, and here on YouTube. It's called Down to Sleep. Now, to understand what Presence is about, we need to go back to the beginning. It's important to understand that the marketing for this movie is setting it up to be something it's not. The trailer makes all kinds of claims about it being terrifying and one of the scariest movies of the year, and I think anyone who sees that trailer and then goes to see this film is going to either be incredibly disappointed or pleasantly surprised. Let me explain. The movie opens with us in an empty house, us being the ghost. The entire movie is shot as if we are looking through the eyes of the spirit that is haunting this home. The home is unfurnished as the ghost explores every room, before a realtor enters and welcomes a family into the home to show them around. The mother is called Rebecca, she's played by Lucy Liu. There's the dad Chris, the son Tyler, and the daughter Chloe. And these four make up our main characters for the rest of this film. We listen to their conversations as this voyeuristic ghost peeping in on their lives, and immediately we find out the mum only cares about the school district. They are literally buying this house to get the son into the school that they want for the swim team. It's giving Tiger Mum, whereas the dad is actually concerned for the daughter, asking, "Is it too soon?" And the mum says, "It's life," and the dad says, "Actually, it's death," giving us our first clue that the daughter has recently suffered a loss of some kind. This becomes central in an unfolding mystery as the film goes on. Who died and how, and could they be the ghostly eyes that we're looking through as the audience? The ghost, us, follows Chloe upstairs, and she peers out of a window in what will become her new room, and the presence retreats backwards into a closet, as if it's scared of her. Chloe turns and looks directly into the camera as we fade to black. This will be important later, but I can't explain it to you until the end. Between every scene, the camera cuts to black and then fades back in, and the period of time, the length that we are left in the darkness as the audience, is symbolic of how much time has passed between what we're seeing on the screen. It's important to note that in this movie, the scenes are really long and done in one take, as the ghost vision moves around the scene and from room to room and character to character, almost feeling like a sort of camera moving around a stage as a play is going on. Whereas a normal movie might have thousands of cuts, there are only 33 in this whole movie. Before the family moves in, the house is being decorated, and one of the painters has refused to enter and paint Chloe's room, showing us that certain people were able to feel and detect the presence in the house. Through the course of the film, we slowly find out that the mum, Rebecca, played by Lucy Liu, is definitely doing something illegal with her company. We overhear calls, we see her deleting emails and files and claiming she has a virus. She says things like, "I'm sleeping just fine at night while on the phone." It's clear that she's done something wrong and that she doesn't feel bad about it. We see her having a weirdly intimate scene with her son as she tells him, "I want you to know everything I've done, every single thing has been for you. The moment that I knew I was pregnant with you, I knew what my purpose was in life. This child must be protected. I've never felt this close to another human being, ever." She has a drink in front of her, so it's clear that she's had a few, but it's a very bizarre little scene as she holds his hand and says these things, saying, "It's okay to go too far for the people you love." There have even been comments that it feels like there's a chemistry between the two, people saying, "Oh, I thought they were about to kiss or something in this scene," but I think it's to just show her complete devotion as the mother to this one child. She's like a tiger mum that is very, very invested in this kid's success, and that she doesn't really care about the daughter much at all. We then, as the ghost, watch Chloe sobbing in her bed, the presence watching over her, but she detects it, sitting up in bed and slowly moving towards it as it retreats again into its safe space, the closet, and Chloe calls out, "Nadia," as if recognizing the ghost and asking if it's there. In the next scene, we get our first example of the ghost interacting with the human world. It tidies up Chloe's books and puts away a novel whilst eerie magical music plays. When Chloe returns from the shower, she scream gasps at the books having moved, and the dad overhears and checks on her. There's this almost maternal kind of vibe to the ghost doing this for her, like cleaning up after a child. We watch over the parents talking downstairs as the dad is concerned that Chloe might be into taking substances. They mention that 2 kids have died recently, that it only takes 1 time, and that Chloe knew the exact same people that knew the dead girls, with the dad adding that the girls just stopped breathing in their beds and what that must have been like for the parents to find them, letting us know that the girls that died, including Chloe's friend, were overdoses. The mum isn't too interested though. Whilst being absorbed in her work, she says time is the only thing that will help her, and they also mention putting Chloe on a new medication or getting a new therapist. The relationship between the husband and the wife is clearly not great. We see multiple scenes of the husband not being listened to, and even consulting a friend about a husband's liability if his wife is arrested for something illegal, and what if they got divorced, showing he's thinking of leaving Rebecca to protect himself from whatever she's done. There's this whole family drama playing out before our ghostly eyes at the same time as the ghost story, but this is where things take a turn. Chloe is laying on her bed on her stomach doing her homework with her butt facing towards the door. She hears her brother come home with a friend, and we hear the brother say, "Wanna say hi?" And they stand in the doorway looking at Chloe from behind as she says hi back. When the boys go back to the brother's room, the new friend Ryan says, "Dude," and nods towards the sister's room, showing that he kind of thinks your sister's attractive. Tyler says, "Don't even." Chloe was in her doorway listening to this convo and goes back to the bed and lays on her stomach, her rear facing once again towards the door, which she purposely leaves open. We watch as the ghost slowly closes the door in a protective maneuver to stop her from being peeped at from the doorway again. We feel a protective sense from this ghost towards Chloe. It felt a bit maternal earlier, and now it feels like a guardian, as we, the audience, try to work out who it is. Chloe starts to bring Ryan home when the parents are away, and the ghost watches them as Chloe wants them to drink together and says, "Do you want to see my room?" He refuses the drink and says he already saw her room, revealing that her brother Tyler has a mean side to him, and that he doesn't really want to cross her brother by getting involved with the sister, that the brother is planning to play a really mean prank on a girl called Simone, but they go up to her room anyway and take substances together. When Ryan is looking at a picture of Chloe and her dead friend Nadia together on the mirror, he says, "You knew her, right?" And she says, "She was my best friend." Ryan says, "I think I met her once at a party maybe." He asks her what it's like to have someone die. Chloe lays on the bed talking about her grief, like the world cracks apart, you fall into this hole, the sides are mud and you can't get out. You wonder where they are and what it would be like if you were there too, the whole time the ghost hovering over the top of them, watching. And as she finishes, Chloe senses the presence and says, "Nadia is here." And he says, "Where?" But she then distracts them both by just suddenly kissing Ryan, and they start to make out. But then she suddenly bursts into tears and he's comforting her, and then he suddenly gives a monologue about how everyone makes decisions for him in his life, how he's never been in charge of things. He sort of alludes to a bad relationship with his mother and says, "I carried a razor blade with me for 6 months. It's a weird out-of-place monologue showing Ryan has some deep issues and trauma of his own. But then he says to Chloe, "Hey, this is all your decision. We can do whatever you want. You're in control. You get to decide." Her response is to completely ignore this massive red flag and just start kissing him again. As things heat up and clothes come off, the ghost turns around and tears down the shelves in the wardrobe. It does this to distract them, and then when they go to investigate what happened, it blows on Chloe, and she gets scared and says, "Oh, it's just the wind." As the family sit down for dinner, more of their issues start to pour out. Chloe confesses her feelings about there being a presence in the house, that things have been moving, that she can feel it. and that the ghost has the feeling of being afraid of being forgotten or ignored. But her brother Tyler has clearly had enough, and he shouts at her and berates her for being weird, worrying about how it's going to make him look at school or to his new friend Ryan, saying just because you think it's your drug addict friend haunting you. Ryan is massive at school. He came to me to be my friend, and Chloe screams that she hates her brother, the dad shouts, and Tyler storms off. And while the mum goes to comfort the son, the dad comforts the daughter. Throughout the movie, we see this deep divide in the family, with each parent having their seemingly favourite child who they connect to the most and that they want to take care of. Later, Tyler is telling his family about the prank that he played on Simone, but is wording it like someone else did it. We, the audience, and the ghost know that he was the one to do it. He tells his mum how they pretended to be a boy that liked her and set her up to go to this location where they were all waiting to make fun of her. She also sent a racy picture which somehow has got out onto the internet, which Chloe accuses Tyler of being the one to release. The mum doesn't seem too concerned and is mostly giggling along with him and not chastising him too much, whilst the dad is clearly not happy with how his son is behaving. Meanwhile, the ghost storms off upstairs and starts to trash Tyler's room. The presence is angry with him for what he did, and the family rush upstairs to witness this paranormal event, and they see it. They see furniture shaking, drawers opening, his trophies throwing off of the shelf, and Chloe enters the room and says, "It's Nadia," as the paranormal event stops and we fade to black. Chloe is now convinced that it's the ghost of her best friend, and the family have a meeting about what to do having just witnessed this paranormal event. It turns into another argument, with the really important part being here the dad shouting at the brother saying, "Get off her back and stay off it," about Chloe. It wouldn't kill you to stand up for her one time. One time. They call the realtor to see if there's been any other reports of stuff like this happening in the house, and she says no, but that her sister-in-law is a sort of psychic medium who can sense things and that she'll come over and take a look. And when the psychic visits, the ghost goes straight up to her and looks her straight in the face, and she reacts to it, backing out of the doorway for a moment. This is to show us, the audience, that she is a real psychic and that she can tell whatever this presence is and can sense it. We, the audience, know that the ghost is real, so her reacting to it shows us that this isn't a scam and it's the real deal. The psychic is drawn to this old mirror in the living room. She says, "The ghost is suffering, just like you, Chloe. You lost your friend, and I also know what it means to suffer." The psychic and the husband then talk about how trauma can make you sensitive to these things. Like a door, for most people it stays closed, but certain events, experiencing God or trauma, can open this door, and for some, the door remains always open. This is the scene that gives us all of the info we need to know about the ghost. With the psychic saying, "You have a presence here, it feels connected to you." When she's asked if it's Nadia, she says, "It's confused. It doesn't know why it's here. Something happened to it in this house probably, and it's trying to figure you and itself out. Time does not work the same way for it. Past, present could be happening at the same time. It doesn't know when it is, and there is something it needs to do, but it doesn't know what." She touches the mirror in the living room as a high piercing sound emits, saying, "Old mirrors are like old people and have seen more," before she suddenly says, "Help her," and gasps as she backs away. After the psychic is gone, the ghost watches over Chloe and her father, with the father saying, "I think I might have made it worse," and the ghost goes upstairs and hides in the wardrobe. We then see the ghost watching Chloe and Ryan, the friend, being intimate in the bed, if you know what I mean, and the ghost awkwardly looks away at the clothes in the wardrobe, not wanting to witness it. There's this powerful melancholy music playing, and we get the sense that the ghost has resigned itself to just sit back in the wardrobe, not interfere in the family's life, not try to make things worse. Whereas before it interrupted their relationship before it got intimate, it now seems to be letting it play out. But then Chloe goes to shower, and the ghost watches as Ryan brings orange juice for her, but secretly slips powder into her glass and mixes it in, trying to drug her. But when Chloe goes to drink it, the ghost shakes the bedside table and knocks her glass off of it and spills it before she can pick it up, protecting her from being attacked. We then get a scene of the psychic returning, but it's outside the house, and the father is telling her, not everyone agrees here that your help is needed. I'm sorry, like, you have to go. And the psychic is saying, I had a dream. Your ghost is here because of something that hasn't happened yet. Something bad. A window that doesn't open. I saw a window in my dream. The dad just walks off and says, I'm sorry. We see the ghost watching over Chloe as she sleeps, and it tries to interact with her seemingly, but we have this camera shaking effect like the ghost is banging on the other side of glass and that it can't reach her. It's banging a few times and then retreats to its closet, like the connection with Chloe has perhaps started to fade, or the ghost's power to interact with the human world is getting blocked for some reason. It could be that Chloe is on a new medication as mentioned earlier and it's dulling her sensitivity, or it could be that, like the mum says, time is passing, and as she's no longer as traumatized as she was by the loss of her friend, she isn't as connected to the ghostly realm. Not only has time passed, but she has a boy that she's seeing, and this could be distracting her from her trauma. But we, as the audience, get the sense of the ghost's frustration at not being able to interact with her. And then the parents go away for a work trip for a few days, leaving the kids at home alone. And Chloe had previously said that Ryan could come over when they go away. Her brother would be there though, and he said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I've been known to prescribe. We're getting the sense that this Ryan might be a dealer. The ghost watches as Tyler listens to music, and we see him sensing the presence for the first time, saying, hello, out loud, as if he feels it watching over him. The connection seeming to have moved from Chloe to Tyler. But then his phone goes and his friend is at the door and he lets him in. They want to drink, and Ryan mixes powder into Tyler's drink secretly so that he passes out on the sofa so that he can be alone with the sister. We know that Tyler would never actually take anything willingly, as he says earlier, no pills, no powder, only natural things from the earth. So once the brother is passed out, we as the ghost watch Ryan mixing another drink. Alcohol, orange juice, and this powder that he takes upstairs to drug Chloe with. The ghost watches him make it and follows him upstairs. But when Ryan gets there, Chloe says, I'm no longer okay with this. I'm going through some stuff, I'm unstable, and I need to go through it alone. Ryan gets annoyed at himself and sort of makes a big scene of it, saying, oh, I'm so alone, did I do something wrong? But then says, okay, it's up to you. Let's just talk. Here's a drink, and hands her the lace drink. The ghost watches her drink it. The whole time you're wanting the ghost to stop what's happening. We, the audience, feel like the ghost. We are unable to interact with this world. We're banging on the glass. We're like Coop in Interstellar on the other side of the bookshelf, wanting the ghost to intervene, but being completely unable to. The weird thing is that the banging effect doesn't actually happen during this scene. The ghost is just watching it play out. It just watches Chloe drink this drink that before it spilled to make sure that she didn't. But then Chloe lays back on the bed and she passes out. And as she does, Ryan reveals his true colors and that he killed her friends, that he does this to them. He drugs them and then puts cling film or plastic over their mouths so that they can't breathe, and he watches them die. That his lack of control in his home life has led to him being a little psycho that needs to exert this control over girls. He keeps covering her mouth, watching her for a bit, and then taking it off and letting her breathe and putting it back on. Meanwhile, the ghost starts to bang futilely on the screen again, trying to interact, to reach out, to save Chloe. It bangs again and again through this really uncomfortable scene, but we can only watch as Ryan gives this psychotic monologue about why he killed those girls and how he enjoys doing it. It's a really unexpected and out-of-nowhere scene. He says he plans to watch her die, knowing that it'll just be framed as an overdose and another stupid girl. We'll talk about the impact of this scene at the end, but meanwhile, the ghost runs downstairs to try to wake her brother. We get the banging on glass effect. It's flicking the lights off and on and trying to wake him up from his unconsensual drugged state. The camera and the ghost then get right up close to his ear as a dramatic and sort of spooky sound plays, signifying that the ghost is doing its best to wake him, perhaps screaming in his ear. He wakes up and immediately shouts, Chloe. This lets us know that the ghost has somehow communicated what is happening and that he needs to help her. Just like the psychic message that the medium got from the mirror earlier, I think the ghost was communicating help her into his ear with that spooky sound, and he just beelines upstairs, starts running. The lights in the house are flickering and buzzing. The ghost is running behind him as you're willing him on to save Chloe. Tyler bursts into Chloe's room to pull Ryan off of her, saying, "Get away from her," and they crash through the bedroom window together. The ghost looks out of the window down onto their two bodies on the floor. They have smashed from the top floor window down to the concrete below, and they are both dead. It's a longer period of darkness between scenes, showing that it's been some time between that happening and the scene that is about to play out. We're in the wardrobe, but the doors are closed, and they're then opened by Chloe, revealing the room to be empty. The ghost follows her out downstairs to reveal that the house is once again unfurnished. The family are leaving, and as the mother stands at the window, she asks for another minute before they go. We watch as Rebecca senses something, the first time that we've seen her sense the presence. She turns and makes her way into the other room, to the mirror in the living room, as the high-pitched sound slowly plays. When she looks into the mirror, she sees her son, Tyler, looking back at her from the viewpoint of the camera. Tyler is the ghost. She screams and cries and sobs as she grasps towards the mirror. The remaining family coming to comfort her as she falls to the floor. She says, "He came back. He came back to save you." And as they comfort Rebecca on the floor as she still is sobbing, the ghost slowly backs up, exiting the house, the first time we've seen it leave the property. It backs up out of the front door and slowly ascends into the sky over the house, up and up, slowly lifting to the heavens. And the movie ends. The ending is an emotional gut punch. It comes suddenly after a long drawn-out first hour that feels mysterious and unfolding in how slow burn it is. The final 20 minutes are intimately visceral and quite disturbing, from Ryan's attempted abuse of Chloe or our feeling of helplessness as the audience to Tyler's sacrifice to save his sister. The reveal of him being the ghost, and Lucy Liu's sobbing. The final third is a roller coaster of emotions that leaves the audience silent and perhaps shedding a tear. But what does it mean? What clues led us here? Why is the mother able to see him at the very end? And what happens next? What was the ending about? Let's get into your questions and talk about what this movie is really about and where the idea came from the director himself. Before we do that, now is a great time to like and subscribe for more if you haven't already, and let me know in a comment, did you enjoy this movie if you've seen it? Did the ending make you emotional, or was this film not quite what you were expecting and hoping for when you went in? I'd also love to know what other movies you'd love to hear me talk about here on the channel. Let me know in a comment below. What does the ending mean? The ending reveals that the ghost was Tyler the whole time. The presence is the son of the family trying to protect the sister. But how could he be the ghost if he was still alive in those earlier scenes, you say? Let me explain. Tyler is a ghost lost in time, not understanding who he is. As the psychic says, time moves differently for them, the past and the present happening at the same time, and that the presence is confused. Let me take you back to one of those very first scenes where Chloe enters her new bedroom and looks out of the window, and the ghost being scared and retreating away. It is actually scared of the window. It has this confused sense that this is a bad thing because that is the location of its own death in the future. We also get a foreshadowing in this scene where the dad says to the son, "It wouldn't kill you to stand up for her one time," when talking about Chloe. And this is the hint of what's to come, because the one time he does stand up for her, it does kill him. It also explains why he is perhaps able to communicate more directly with himself, because he is the ghost. He is this presence communicating directly with his past self to help her, and that's what spurs him to run upstairs and save Chloe. So what does the ending actually mean, and what happens after the movie ends? This is Tyler finding out what his purpose is and that he's fulfilled it before he leaves the house and ascends to the heavens. You can take that in any spiritual or religious sense as you like, but the ending is implying that the ghost is now able to move on and to ascend to whatever higher plane awaits them. But why was the mum able to see who the ghost was at the very end? As established earlier in the movie, different types of trauma can open the door to feeling sensitive to experiencing ghosts. We know that Chloe is initially sensitive to it because she's going through the trauma of losing her friend. And what we're seeing at the end of the movie is Rebecca deep in the trauma of losing her son, who she loved so very much. And she is very, very sensitive to his presence at this time. The door has been smashed open wide for her, and she's now able to sense the ghost fully and see him. But did you know that the movie is somewhat inspired by a true story with director Steven Soderbergh's own ghost story? Him and his wife moved into a house and had a presence of their own. They were feeling things, wondering if things were moving, and being told then that a woman died in the house and was potentially killed by her daughter. The babysitter that they had over one time said she saw a woman moving through the house in her peripheral vision. He began to wonder what it would be like if the ghost in the house was watching them, what it would be like for the ghost itself, and the movie started from there. He wrote 10 pages and sent that to the scriptwriter David Koepp, who wrote the rest of the film. So what did you think of the movie? I really enjoyed it. It didn't overstay its welcome, running at about 85 minutes total. It is a quick, short film. I take some issue with how it's being marketed as a scary movie, and one of the scariest movies of the year is a quote that literally appears on the screen in the trailer, and I think this is a mistake. The movie is a family drama. I would hesitate to even call it a horror movie. It is a ghost story in a traditional and classic sense. It's a sometimes spooky but mostly sad and heart-wrenching tale of a haunting of a spirit unable to pass on until it knows what it is or what it has to do. There is very, very little scary about this movie, and I think you're setting people up for a disappointment if you have them coming in thinking they're going to see paranormal activity. The long scenes also do at times give way to some fairly poor acting and dialogue, which just feels a little bit silly. At times, the stuff the characters were saying and how it was being said kind of broke my immersion and took me out of the movie, but overall I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the gimmick of us being the ghost and everything being from the viewpoint of the ghost in this house. I'm also not a fan of the scene where the psychic returns to warn of her dream of the window and what's to come, and that it's something that hasn't happened yet. It sort of spoiled the last 20 minutes of the movie for giving us too big of a clue that the ghost wasn't someone that had already passed, but was someone who was going to pass away. It also seemed really out of character for the father to be so dismissive of this and just say, okay, bye, because he had been really believing of the daughter up to that point. It kind of gave away the ending, with me then kind of watching the rest of the movie thinking the ghost was going to be Chloe before it was revealed to be the brother. I think the intention was to set that tension up for the audience, to give you a sort of, oh my god, it's not Nadia, it's going to be someone that's in the house currently, so you're kind of on the tenterhooks waiting to see who it is. But it felt like a really crowbarred in scene. I don't know if that's just me. Let me know what you thought in a comment. But what we really need to talk about is that scene where things suddenly change from a ghost story into this serial killer scene, where this kid has killed 2 girls and he's about to kill Chloe, and we're just helpless watching it. And I get that it's a very artsy film, and God, it brings up some feelings as you're watching it. The cinema was completely silent. After finding things a little bit musing earlier and giggling at bits here and there, people were just silent, and there was a tension in the air because of how uncomfortable it was. People awkwardly sort of clearing their throats and stuff as they're confronted with this scene, and I feel like that was the intention of the movie. Personally, I really liked the way it subverted the expectations of what we might have gone in expecting, but I don't think everyone is going to be a fan of it, and for some people it could be triggering and really uncomfortable, and they might feel hard done by. Nowhere in the trailers do you get telegraphed that this is going to occur. Nowhere in the previous hour of this movie is it telegraphed that something like this might happen, and there's no way for people to warn others or to talk about it without giving away the entire movie, the twist, and the ending. Which, depending on where you fall on this, you might think that's brilliant and artistic and a wonderful kind of pack-a-punch kind of ending to something, or you might be annoyed by that. You might even be angry and upset by how the filmmaker approached it. And that is up to you, how you react to this. And I would love to know your opinions in a comment below. I do personally fall on the side of art is art, and I don't mind it when something gives me the old gut punch, and just, I found the ending very emotional, very uncomfortable, and kind of had to like sit with it for a bit after the movie ended. And I kind of appreciate that when a piece of art or a film or whatever it is does that to me. I'm someone who enjoys that, but it might not be for everyone, and I totally respect that some people may have left this movie less than happy. And even more so, I think a lot of people might go to this movie expecting a horror, scary jump fest, and they're not going to get it. So the marketing is really, really strange on this one, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good film. And that is Presence Explained. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown, and let me know what you thought of the movie and what other films you'd like to see me talk about. There are some videos on the screen if you want to go on another adventure with me, and you can find my other channels in the description below this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, good night.